Here.
Howard Feldman.
Here.
Everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with public participation and recognition. The Board of Education will recognize and congratulate School Resource Officer Jack Wes on the retirement and for his service to DeKalb Community School District 428. Officer Jack Wes has served as a School Resource Officer for District 428 for 12 years and received his certification through the National Association of School Resource Officers in 2006. He is also a certified ALICE instructor in addition to his role as a school resource officer. He has been a police officer for 22 years and also serves as a lieutenant colonel in the Illinois National Guard.
I believe we have a couple people who maybe have some words to say about Officer Jack Wes. Why don't you come up here?
Sure.
So I just started when you were 10 years old?
That looked pretty well, right?
He does.
So I've gotten the pleasure of working with Officer Dekalb for the last 12 years in various roles, and you know, he's somebody that to me has really kind of revolutionized the school resource officer role, and somebody that, you know, his role was basically to be a liaison between the police department and be proactive in the schools, and he's done that and more. Taught classes, been involved with our student service team, and really been integrally involved in everything that we do. So he's been somebody that, like, we always talk about the CRMS family and everybody who's part of that. And he's certainly, for many years, has been a really strong core of our team. So we're gonna miss you. I'm proud to call him my friend as well.
All right. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking earlier, what do you say about JB? I've been working with him also for 12 years. And I was thinking about what things make him special. And, you know, when you talk about the school resource officers, people think about them as a police officer in the school, but they're really so much more than that. And JJ at his heart is really an educator. And he's really gone out of his way to educate so many of our students in so many different things. You know, when he addresses them, when he talks to them, it's much more about the community and educating them and making the right choices. And I think that sticks in my mind the most, is he's much more than just a police officer at the school. He really is someone who goes out of the way to embrace being an educator. And it did not surprise me at all to find out that that's where he's going for his next role. So I just want to say congratulations, and I'll miss you also.
And what Sean is referring to is Officer Jack Wes has been hired by the Kishwaukee Education Consortium to teach high school students about being police officers. When Director Kraut said, "Hey, I've got this guy, can you make a recommendation?" I just laughed. I said, "You got to hire him."
Tammy, did you want?
So I've only worked with JJ for 10 years, but one thing that sticks in my mind about JJ is about 5 years ago, he walked into my office at the end of the summer, beginning of the summer, and said, "You know, we got to really look at how we do our lockdown drills. And we have to consider other options such as letting the students evacuate and get away from the building." And I immediately, in my normal sense, start responding with all the reasons we shouldn't do it and how he's crazy. And he calmly interrupted me, and he says to me, "Now hear me out." And I don't know how many times in the last 10 years I've heard from JJ, "Hear me out." And that's what always brought me back to reality, let me listen to other ways of doing things, and really it to me has brought the district to the forefront of where we are with our safety protocols. He has been an integral part of making those protocols what they are today and brought us to that level we are that far surpasses many school districts around the state. Without JJ's guidance and direction and calm demeanor, we wouldn't be where we're at today. And as much as I hate to see him go, he's always going to be in the back of my head saying, just hear me out when I need it the most. So I wish you luck in your retirement. I'm going to miss you. We're all going to miss you. But, you know, we'll still see you around.
Don't sit down.
Right down the stairs to my house.
Hey, everybody, stay right there. We're gonna take a picture with Jay. Come on, we're gonna go in the middle here and take a picture. You guys wanna come up for a picture? Or, anybody else wanna come up? It'll just be us. Okay, come on, you right in the middle. Could you take a picture, please, first? Did you see it? Got it?
Do it first. All right.
I'll send it over to you. Okay, hold on a second.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks very much for your work. Thank you very much. I'll send that over to you, JJ.
Okay, next we have the recognition of new school resource officer, Chris Sullivan. The Board of Education will introduce and welcome new school resource officer, Chris Sullivan.
So I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I've been working with the police department for 15 years. I was born and raised here. I graduated from the high school. It was down there, or down this thing. I am excited to be taking on a new position. I've got some big shoes to fill, so I just appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Welcome on board.
Next, we have the acceptance of gifts and donations, and this is an action item. That the Board of Education accept with gratitude the donation of $500 from Texas Roadhouse in the form of free appetizer coupons being distributed to all staff in attendance at the benefit fair, along with the donation of 2 baskets containing school supplies and coupons that will be part of a free raffle for all of the staff in attendance. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Troy Davis,
Yes.
Jeff Albert,
Yes.
Aaron Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Sullivan.
Yes.
And thanks to them.
And then next we have public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Do we have any cards tonight? Thank you. Okay. And next we have board committee reports and correspondence. Anybody have anything? Okay. I have just a few things. First of all, I just want to thank Tammy. If anybody's been by Founders, the parking lot in the front looks amazing. It really came out nice, and it looks like it always was meant to be there. So it's great. Thank you for that. Great job.
Well, along that line, I'll say something,
Okay.
because I got here a little early tonight for closed session. I said, what am I gonna do with my time? So I drove by Founders and I drove by Lincoln, and I was really impressed with Lincoln. It looks great. A lot of neat landscaping. It was really, really clean looking. So I'm sure if we got inside the buildings, we'd find all the floors all shiny and stuff. So good job, Tammy and crew.
Also, in the next week, many of our schools are having back to school nights. I encourage all board members to please attend your buildings, your schools, and be part of that night for the students and the staff. FFAC, we have 3 individual community members who are leaving our committee. Frank Roberts is one, Brad Brown's another, and Kathy Watkins. So we have 3 positions to fill. And several people have come forward and are looking to join the committee. The 3 individuals who will be joining are Travis Thompson. He's a banker at First National Bank. He's a Dekalb resident, graduated from high school here, and went to Illinois State and then came back up here and has been working at First National Bank. The other individual is Jeremy Olson. He's a CFO of the company, and he has 2 children in the district. And then we have Sheila Peretti, and she's at First State Bank as a banker. So we're replacing 2 bankers with 2 bankers, and then an individual who's a community member is joining our committee.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any? Okay. We have the non-business consent agenda, and this is an action item, that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through D. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Aaron Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Next, we have business and finance, and this is an action item, that the Board of Education approve the purchase order requisition list as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Aaron Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht.
Yes.
Next, we have approval of tentative budget for fiscal year 2018-19, and this is an action item, that the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative budget for public display in anticipation of adoption on September 18th, 2018. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion? Did you just want to hit the highlights of it?
Yeah, I will do that. Keep this rolling here, and we actually have a clicker. So I'm the first to test it out, so let's see. Yay. Yep, so I'll go quick.
You're welcome, Amir.
That's how we're gonna spend it all. Clickers for everybody.
Boxes of clickers.
Just real quick, the definition of budget really is a financial plan, and plans do change. We know that in terms of when we go through the year. We use it as a tool for projections and planning and to monitor our spending, and it's an estimate of our revenues to be received and our expenditures that we're going to spend. Quickly, I'm not going to get into the, what accounting practices are out there, but we are on an accrual basis, which basically means that when we close our books, we close them and we record revenue when it gets received and expenses when it gets paid. And at the end of the year, we kind of shore everything up. If we do get some revenue that was for the previous fiscal year, we report that back into the previous fiscal year. And then we also defer our property taxes. So our property tax levy that we received a lot of it in May and June, about half of it. We don't record that as revenue until the next fiscal year. So that kind of shores things up in terms of our revenue. And then we also would do the same with expenses. If we pay them out in within 60 days of our fiscal year, and they were for the previous year's expenditures, we also put those in the previous year, along with contracted salaries as well that we paid with the summer. Budget building process, where we are now, or towards the end of it. Right now we're in August, so we're finalizing our revenues and expenditures and looking at our tentative budget. That's what we're today, and then for potential for adoption in September. Real briefly, the state school funding formula, where we were at fiscal year 17-18, what tier we fell into. We were at 58% adequacy, which put us in tier 1, which gave us an additional $2.8 million in fiscal year 17-18, for a total of about $25.6 million. And actually today we received notification that the fiscal year 19 allocations are out, and we're slated to receive an additional $2.8 million. And that's not incorporated in this budget because that just came out literally hours ago. And Amir also checked too, and it's already checked. The first checks will be going out in August. In Frizz, which is the accounting system that they use, which I look at real closely to see when we're going to get our funds and what's been allocated. It already has that allocation there for about $28 million for the school district.
I have a question. on that, what you just said, it's the 19, is that 1920? I mean, the
That's
19/20, the additional 2.8 that you just said, talked about?
No, that's 1819.
So that's 1819 on top of the 2.8 that we get.
That we got
stated?
last year.
Right.
Right. So it's an,
So we,
Right.
basically, we got confirmation that
yes,
we got the 2.8 late in the spring as
Right.
part of the balance funding.
Right.
We were
Retroactive for
Yes.
seven.
yeah, for 17, 18.
Right, we were told that that would be our new base,
Right,
and it was confirmed, because we didn't budget for it, but it was confirmed today, that officially is our new base.
right,
And they'll start making 2 payments a month starting August 10th.
No.
That's confirmation.
Right.
And that's what-
So, yeah, so again, within this headed budget, that wasn't included, because obviously when I was working on this, we didn't have confirmation of that. But when we adopt the budget, I'll incorporate that in the adoption, when we have the final budget ready. And again, this is before we knew where we were at. We did not know what our fiscal 19 tier money was going to be, and now we do know what that is. So that'll be an additional 2 points. Is nice, very nice actually. The status of our state payments, we're still waiting for about 1.4 million from the state for last fiscal year categorical payments, which is primarily our transportation reimbursement and some special ed reimbursement for private placement tuition. Still don't know when that's supposed to be received. Hopefully, now that they've got the calculations done for the allocations, I'm sure that's their priority, and then hopefully we'll see this very soon. Last year we waited till January of 2018 to receive all our funds. I'm hoping that's a little quicker this year. But it's not as impactful because most of the categoricals have been all lumped together in that evidence-based funding, so that does help the cash flow and keeps that number a little lower. And again, we just talked about the evidence-based school funding and where we're at with that. And again, in this budget presentation, it doesn't have it, but I'll include that next time. I know it's kind of small, but this is just the detail for each of the funds, what our local, state, and revenue sources are. And I'll go to the next because it's a little better picture. We've got a pie chart here. For our operating fund budget, we're looking at about 89 million in revenues, again, exclusive of that 2.8 million at this point. About 58% comes from local sources, which is property taxes, corporate personal property tax, and student fees, and then donations. The next largest source are state sources, which is the evidence-based funding, which was formerly our general state aid, our state funded grants, special education reimbursement, and transportation reimbursement, and then about 5.5 million in federal, which is our title grants and our national school lunch program that we receive money reimbursement for the free and reduced meals. Here's our expenditure budget, and again, we have this broken out by all the various funds. And then I'll go to quickly the pie chart, because I think it's a better picture of where we're at and where we're spending our dollars from our operating budget. We're looking at about $86.7 million operating budget in expenditures. The largest portion being salaries and benefits, which make up about 70% of our budget, which we're a people business, so that's pretty typical for most school districts. The next largest is purchase services, which includes our first student transportation and Aramark, who is our food service vendor. Also our legal bills, liability insurance, those types of things, any kind of contracted services we have, or repairs and maintenance, those are various items that fall under purchase services. Next largest is our tuition, which the largest piece of that is special education tuition for those students that we outplace. So that's the biggest piece of that. The other, they call it. Next is materials, supplies, materials, those things that we are consumables that we kind of go through on a day-to-day basis for either custodial or in the classroom. And then capital outlay, some of those big ticket items like for machinery or equipment, those types of things. So that's the pie chart for the operating budget expenditures. So in summary, we're looking at our total surplus, or actually, which is nice, not deficit, of about 2.3 million for the upcoming fiscal year. And again, that's exclusive of that 2.8 million. So if we add that to it, it's a little more than $5 million surplus that we're looking for this fiscal year. And then below the operating funds is our debt service fund, capital projects funds, and life safety funds. And those don't get included as operating because those aren't really day-to-day. Those are funds that we use exclusively like for capital or life safety that Tammy uses. And the debt service fund is where we pay our debt payments and bonded interest payments. So that puts us, if we're looking at an estimated ending fund balance for our operating funds, at about 33.7 million fiscal year 18-19. Here's just a quick history of where our operating revenues and expenditures were. And if we look at the projected for 19, again, that 2.4 million-ish surplus with a 33.7 fund balance, which puts us at about 39% of fund balance to expenditures. Our policy wants, we want to stay within 15 to 25%. So we're well over that range, which is great to see. It just gives us that sort of little cushion for when we hit some bumpy roads. And then if you look at the history pictorially at the bottom, that line has stayed flat and it's actually going up a little, which is nice to see. Some budget considerations that we always keep in the back of our mind. Well, that top one we do know now, so that's good to know. Property tax freezes has always been talked about for the last few years. Right now with the election year, things are kind of quiet. There's not a lot happening or talked about, but it's something we always want to keep on our radar, along with any of the pension payments or cost shifts that may occur because of the pensions. Yes.
I have a question if it doesn't bother your flow. Fund balance, I mean, in other words, 2.4 million. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's the surplus.
Surplus, okay.
Right,
Well,
so the revenues over expenditures, yes.
Surplus. So obviously, that's not 2.4 million that we just get as a chunk and that it's a surplus, but it trickles in. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, there's an outgoing income, fund balance. What happens to that fund balance?
It
What
goes,
do
for
we
that,
do?
the surplus goes into the fund balance. So
I
like
mean, the surplus then just goes into escrow in a sense.
yeah, basically like a company that has stockholders' equity or equity at the end of it, that's basically the same concept.
And is it earning money for us?
Oh, yeah, we have it invested, yes.
Right, so we invest it. Is it liquid? I mean, is it?
Yep.
So it's earning money, it's liquid to a certain extent,
Mhm.
but it's earning money for us and it's there for us when we need it for the year that we are
Right,
not happy.
right, or if we have to do some sort of capital improvements or any of those types of things.
Then we draw upon it for instance, Tammy's Lincoln, or our HVAC at Lincoln,
Mhm.
right? I mean, then we can pull it from that, and that comes before us as a pulling it out of escrow, so. to
If it's
speak.
something above what we're budgeting, yes, because that's basically, pulling dollars out of the operating fund. Yeah, basically the savings account, I guess you can say, that's sitting there that we could use to fund those
Right,
expenditures.
yeah, but it's liquid enough so that we can get it out if we need it for
Oh, yeah.
an eventuality like Lincoln.
Yeah, and we're pretty restricted in terms of investments that we can do as a public entity. So we have to do something obviously very safe. It's got to be collateralized, meaning that if a bank goes under, if it's above the FDIC insurance mark, we get paid, so.
I'm sure everybody
Yeah.
kind of already knows that, I just needed to get up to speed on how.
That's a good question.
No, we try and draw as much interest. Actually, our interest revenue has been up quite a bit because interest rates are up, so that's just a natural.
People have been doing well here
Yes.
for the last little bit.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'll come back later if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Continue.
And then the delayed payments of last year when we were doing the tentative budget, the controller on their website, the state owed about $14.8 billion in backlog of bills. As of the day I looked at it on the 31st, it was about $7.3 billion. And half, but I think they borrowed to do that. And we're still waiting for that 1.4 million from fiscal year 17-18. And that's it.
and they can add that 450 million to that particular load that.
Yeah, that would be good.
So my question is this, Cindy, with our fund balance at 38% now, and interest rates are up, and this new evidence-based funding model gives us quite a bit more money, but yet it comes from a state that's still in deep trouble. Have you and the FFIC thought about reconsidering our range of 15 to 25%? I mean, how fat should we be? If they put pensions on us, or if the state can't come through with what they're telling us and so on, do we need to reconsider our historic range under these new conditions?
It's probably not a bad idea to look at that. Although because we defer our tax revenue for us on June 30th, really looking at a picture in time, we're at the lowest fund balance we're going to be at because we're not recognizing any of that revenue. So we're already insulated to some extent from a cash flow perspective because we have the money in the bank. We're just not recording it as fund balance yet until literally the next day. So we do have a little cushion there, but, it might not be a bad idea to relook at that policy and maybe bolster a little more.
The last time the line changed in slope was when we got the $21 million grant, the
Yeah,
construction grant.
And that was back in
And
2011.
that was quite a long while ago.
Yeah.
So now we're back on the upward trend.
Yes.
But unlike the $21 million kick that we got, this comes as a result of the state's change in its model. And the state is still not in good condition, right? So I mean, they're probably robbing Peter to pay Paul, I would say.
Yeah, they're better, but they're still gonna be conservative.
Anyway, I think it's something that I would like to see the FFAC and you take a good hard look at where should we be? Is it safe for us to stay in that 15 to 25% range for our fund balance ratio? Or does it need to be higher? Or can we go ahead with the capital project or something? Give us some sort of an insight after you've looked at everything, as to risk. Also, speaking of risk, how about our bond rating? I mean, this ought to do wonders for our bond.
Yeah, I would
rating.
hope when they're relooking at that, and we'll be looking about a year from now, refunding those 2009 bonds, so we're about a year out.
So it's new territory. I just think that we ought to take a look at that.
Carrie, you just brought up another point though, which is that we have to be careful about what we use that 2.8 million that they gave us because of our status or whatever you want to call it. We fall under a criteria of what we spend that on, do we not?
Well, and we still haven't received a lot of guidance from the state about what that looks like. I mean, we may have to report to them a spending plan of some sort. It's not gonna be like a grant where it has to be, okay, real strict, but just like, hey, we have these extra dollars. Here's where the adequacy targets puts us. We're gonna we're gonna spend it on improvements or Chromebooks or
Salaries, any number of different
Yeah.
things you would be able to.
To your point, and I think we discussed this a couple meetings ago, that 2.8 is not going to be unrestricted. Right now, we haven't.
But they haven't
There's
really-
going to be, it's coming. There's going to be a spending plan that we have to submit to the state to show, again, that model school that they base the evidence-based funding model. At some point, they're going to come back and ask districts, how are you applying it towards this model school? It's coming.
In a sense, as I understand it, pardon me for going into this, but in a sense, as I understand it, the reason that we get this extra money is because we are working under a certain amount of difficulty. I mean, we have difficulty with the amount of money that we're bringing in, and we have a difficulty with a certain profile of student in our schools, correct?
And it
So
looks at
it's
what
gonna
you can
come.
get locally.
Say again?
It looks at what you can get locally through your property tax base as well.
Right.
So take that into consideration.
Yeah, so and we're challenged in that area. That's why we got extra money, right?
Yeah,
Well-
along with a lot of other districts.
There was a lot of criteria
Yeah.
that go into that plan,
So-
but
So we have to wait, not do much, until they tell us what we can do with it,
yeah,
which they haven't done
we
yet.
can't go by a bunch of clickers.
No,
Not yet.
I didn't get mine today. Handhelds, aren't we call those handhelds?
Trial clicker.
All right, so. Roll call.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Corey Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albert,
Yes,
Mary Moore,
Yes.
Victoria Nichols.
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, next we have request to bid DHS dugout repairs, and this is an action item. That the Board of Education approve administration to go out to bid for DHS dugout repairs if necessary to complete the repairs before the winter season.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Some of these dugouts are fairly new. And we are looking at actually repairing something that is possibly due to workmanship or something that they should have lasted much longer than they did.
Yes.
Are we going to be able to recover anything from those who constructed them originally?
Meeting and had a lot of correspondence with the original architect of the high school, the construction management company, as well as the structural engineer from the construction project. And we are in discussion of what needs to be done, what caused this, and in regards to responsibility for the cost of these repairs. And at this point, I'm still under those discussions with them. There is willingness and participation on all of their parts to make sure we get this resolved to everyone's satisfaction. And I do believe it is very likely it will happen with participation from other parties.
Is it mostly concrete, problem with the concrete?
It's the precast. And there is issues in question in regards to the roofing materials that were also used, which have contributed to the issues with the precast.
Wow.
Okay, so did the architect approve those roofing materials for the precast?
Yes,
So there's an architectural problem perhaps as well.
perhaps. That's what we're exploring at this time.
Yeah.
And typically they get a percentage of construction costs for that supervision,
Right.
correct?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Well,
they're
plus we had a
liable.
project manager on that project as well.
They're liable.
That was our employee.
And unfortunately, as Tammy shared, there was a very large meeting, not too often long ago, that all parties were there and participated in the evaluation and discussion, and those discussions continue to go on. The purpose of getting permission to go to bid tonight is, obviously, we have to have these completed before the snow flies. We can't come in the spring and have time to be trying to do this project as we're trying to get baseball and softball going. So we would like to get permission to go to bid, continue to work with all parties involved. We may not have to, the district may not have to actually bid this project. It may come out that those involved say, we're gonna fix it and this is how we're gonna do it. But
Having a number is good
But
in
if
any
there's,
case.
but if there's a delay, then we'll have to do it and resolve later.
Tammy, do you know what the line item cost was for the dugouts in the first place during the contract from ATSMR?
Sorry, Carrie, I don't have that specifically.
Okay. I'm curious. I mean, the thing I really got irritated about was the lift pump problem. Also an architectural oversight, I think, in my opinion. And I wonder if this is on the same order of magnitude or not, you know, whether it's just a similar dollar amount. And
The repair part.
yeah, whatever the loss would be as far as whatever the bids would come in at, you know, what's the dollar loss for us?
I do have an estimate from our current architect,
Yeah.
should we go out to bid, and we're looking at roughly $95,000
Okay, so
plus
there's more.
another, it's right around 116,000 by the time we add an
Almost about
architect and
50.
engineering for costs.
Yeah,
But we're talking 4 dugouts.
Right.
yeah. And are we at risk at all by going ahead with the bid prior to any sort of legal agreement with any of these contractors or architects?
We're at a risk that they could fight this and say they won't be contributing to the cost of these, and then we have to make that decision regarding pursuing the litigation and the costs involved with that.
Either
So-
way, there's a safety responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have to do it. I don't think there's a choice here, but I'm curious about how it appears.
Not only that, but we're gonna have to have a number no matter what. I mean, so the bid is gonna provide us with the number that then we would negotiate from or for or with, you know, I mean, so it seems to me we've gotta go forward with a bid under almost any circumstance.
Well, there is the possibility that we are able to come to a resolution that the precast company or the construction management company and or the architect take care of this on their own or in conjunction with each other. And we just say, thank you for standing behind your work. And then we wouldn't go to bid, because going to bid costs some additional monies.
So-
We have to pay our architect to design, put the bid specs together, get it on the street. With having approval from all of you tonight in regards to going to bid, that is our plan B, that is our backup plan. We don't want to get to that point, but we have to make that decision by the end of August, whether we are telling our current architect, get it designed, we've got to get it on the street, and then we go from there.
So you want approval from us tonight to bid if necessary?
Yes.
And you will try to get these other guys all on the same
Absolutely.
page?
Absolutely, and
to
we
some
are,
agreement with us?
as recent as Sunday, we were in discussions with the past architect about participating in these repairs.
Well, it also shows those people that our intention is to move forward, build them back for that work.
Litigation.
That was
Yeah,
very,
here you
that was
go.
very clear in my meeting.
Right, absolutely.
So that's what we need, plan B.
All right, so roll call then, please.
Howard Sullivan,
Yes.
Troy Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albert.
Yes,
Gary Malott.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Craig Smith.
Yes.
thanks.
Next, we have temporary facility permit for Lincoln, Jefferson, and Littlejohn, and this is an action item. That the Board of Education approve the temporary facility applications for Lincoln Elementary, Jefferson Elementary, and Littlejohn Elementary. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
What does this mean?
It's a requirement of the ROE that we are inspected by our architect, we correct any violations, and they give us a permit.
Okay, so it's pro forma to a certain extent. Correct. We need it.
All right, then roll call, please.
Troy Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albert.
Yes,
Gary Malott.
Yes.
thanks,
Victoria
Tammy.
Newport.
Yes.
Craig Smith.
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
And at this point, the board is going to adjourn back to closed session. That the Board of Education adjourn to closed session to review collective bargaining. And this is an action item.
So moved.
Roll call, Melissa?
Troy Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albert.
Yes.
Gary Malott.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Craig Smith.
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
5 minutes?
Let's go.
We have